Now, let's go back to Taiwan's arms deal. Following Trump's comments, former U.S. Defense Secretary Robert Gates was asked whether Trump should approve it. Watch.
I think he should. I think we should go forward with what we've agreed with Taiwan. One of the concerns that I have is even with respect to previous arms sales, there is a huge backlog of weapons that we have sold to Taiwan that we have not been able to deliver because we don't have the supplies. And so if you're offering another $14 billion, is that just going to be added to the backlog, or is there a way forward in terms of actually getting these weapons to the Taiwanese? I think an important thing that has happened in recent years is getting the Taiwanese to focus on purchasing the kinds of weapons that would be necessary to defend themselves against a Chinese amphibious invasion. And the Taiwanese legislature has just finally reached an agreement to fund the purchase of these weapons. So I think we should go forward with it. It is in our own way our counter to President Xi's strong statement. Yes, you have your position, we have ours.
But according to Trump, the arms package can be used for bartering.
No, I'm holding that in abeyance, and it depends on China. It depends. It's a very good negotiating chip for us, frankly. It's a lot of weapons. It's $12 billion. It's a lot of weapons. But, you know, when you look at the odds, China's a very, very powerful, big country. That's a very small island. It's, you think of it, it's 59 miles away, 59 miles. We're 9,500 miles away.
Professor Ming, what do you think are the full ramifications of any perception that the US president might in any way change this particular arms deal, or, you know, the general sales of arms to Taiwan?
I don't think he'll change the arms sales to Taiwan very much, because he knows that it's a very important strategic chip on the American side, and he knows that how important Taiwan is to the United States if he really wants to make America great again. If his theory is about MAGA, then he'll help out Taiwan. But in his eyes, that arms sales to Taiwan is definitely a very good chip, very important chip when negotiating with China, with coming to China. I think he'll hold it to the point that if you China do this, then I won't approve the arms sale for the time being. If you don't do this, then I'll approve it right away. So he'll use it as a strategic chip, just to, I think, to adjust the timing. Not just. I don't think he'll cancel it altogether, because it's so important. It could be postponed, it could be stalled, and it could be negotiated, but it will be there.
Tony, I mean, some in Taiwan obviously have been worried. I mean, we had Reagan's 6 assurances, which states that there will be no consultation with China over Taiwan's arms sales. This was obviously breached. And also, what's happened to, you know, asking Taiwan to arm 10% of GDP to be spent on defense?
I think Trump had painted himself into a corner where, if he doesn't approve the arms sale, he might demonstrate to all these people that Xi had influenced him to that point. And instead of making America great again, he might be making China great again. So he needs to be careful that China is a rising power, and if we can deter together between the United States and Taiwan by making sure Taiwan has sufficient self-defense capability, as the United States have promised, then we allow China to get into a decision loop, and that's a very dangerous situation. So at this point, I'm hopeful that the wiser minds prevail in Washington, D.C., and go ahead and approve the arms sale, and actually, if anything at all, increase the regional security arrangements to keep China in check. Action speaks louder than words, and I hope he take those correct actions.
Otherwise, it could embolden Xi Jinping. I guess that's what we're saying.
Right. But I don't think it'll go that far.
Right.
I don't think that things will go that far, because I don't think that that Trump or the wise minds in Washington, D.C. would allow Trump to go that far.
Okay.
He'll come back to his senses eventually.
So Tony, let's then talk about the damage that this perception that there could be a change, a perception that a US president could do this after speaking to a Chinese president. What sort of damage does that create?
Yeah, it is dangerous because obviously Xi Jinping tried to say Taiwan is the troublemaker. Okay, that's the bottom line. And the fact is China is the aggressive one. Taiwan will never attack China. It's China who will attack Taiwan.
So, Professor Ming, Xi Jinping at the state dinner, and this was recorded later in state readouts, said, "I've agreed with President Trump on a new vision of building a constructive China-US relationship of strategic stability to provide strategic guidance for China-US relations." Now, since then, the White House has come out with a statement to confirm that that was agreed. Why do you think? What was behind this? What's behind the language of this for Xi Jinping? What does he intend it to mean, especially for Taiwan?
Well, first we want to stabilize the current situation, the current relationship between the two countries. We don't want to go any further in terms of a confrontation because we have a high degree of interdependency between the two countries. But having said that, we have to probe even further into this kind of interdependency. Yeah, there's a high degree of interdependency between two countries, but it's kind of uneven. China depends on the United States more than vice versa in terms of economy, trade, energy, and food, like soybeans or wheat or whatever, and high tech and exchanges and talents. So there's a much higher degree of dependency on China's on the United States than vice versa. So that's why he said we want to stabilize our relationship now, because there's one thing I don't want to say is that I depend on you much more than you depend on me. So that's one thing. And secondly, it's I want to have a guardrail for our relationship, because I'm afraid that you may encroach upon me somehow when you think you're strong enough. He knows Trump that he has seen Trump has done so many things that to Maduro and to Iran, and helping Israel to attack other rebel groups or other military juntas, and he knows that Trump would eventually resort to violence. So he's afraid of that. Although it's kind of impossible for us to think about a nuclear war between two countries with nuclear weapons. Although it's beyond our imagination, but for a totalitarian leader, he's always afraid of that.
So you see it in a defensive light. This is China seeking to defend itself and its boundaries. Other analysts have said actually it's a lot more manipulative, that it's more offensive, because in fact what they're trying to do is to create this framework, almost like lawfare, which they are highly skilled at. And then, for example, arms sales to Taiwan would breach that framework. And then they can turn around to the US and say, you agreed to this with us, but now look what you're doing. That means that we then are entitled to punish you.
It's a both sides of a coin. Depends on how you manipulate it. She does have an upper hand in terms of wording. But when it comes to, just like Tony said, action is always louder than words. So I believe that Trump will come back to his senses.
Right.
When they think that he's been tricked by Xi Jinping, then he'll get furious.
Yes.
I think we need to keep in mind.
And Taiwan welcomes that.
Everything becomes clearer if we keep in mind that China will not deviate from its ultimate objective of becoming number one in the world. First step, push the United States out of Pacific area. Okay, the end justifies the mean. they will promise you, they will arrange all kinds of things, but throughout history, if you keep in mind, in different scenarios where they will focus on the objective, they think long term, so right now they can make all kinds of promises and say, hey, we're partners. They're ready to kill you, but right now they say, once you let your guards down, they take that next step. So I believe this is just a strategy that Xi Jinping is doing right now. Hey, we have a joint vision of some type. And no, they have their vision. They're going to impose that vision on you. They're going to change the rules of the world so that they are the one who sets the rules. So I think as long as we keep that in mind, then things all become clear and you will not be fooled.